Myself, M. Karthik Kumar Reddy, working as an assistant professor in Nalla Narasimha Reddy Education Society's group of institutions in the Department of Civil Engineering in Foundation Engineering subject, Unit 5. I am going to discuss about pile foundations. Then, every time we are discussed about enlarged base or say providing little more cross section as compared to the pile shaft. So this kind of piles they are usually called as underrimmed pile. Let us say that what exactly are the few features of this kind of pile. Or an underrimmed pile is a special type of board pile which is provided with a bulb or pedestal at the end. So enlarged base it forms a kind of bulb that we call as underrimmed piles. It is constructed by making a hole in the ground by means of hand operated auger. So, what are the steps, how it is being carried out, how it is being constructed, that we will be discussing one by one in the subsequent slides. An underrimmed pile is then lowered in the cleaned hole. So, first a hole is created, a borehole is created, then you can insert an auger into that, and by hand operation you can increase the diameter at the end, and then an underreamer is lowered in the borehole which has been cleaned. The underreamer is pressed down and rotated. Then under pressure the blades open up. The blades of underreamer they open up, and due to rotary action the soil is cut and falls in the bucket. So once the borehole is created, you insert the underreamer, and then with pressure you try to rotate it. So as soon as there is a pressure on the underreamer, it is blades get opened, and with the rotary action in the clay part or in the soil part, they are below at the end of the pile. What happens is the soil is getting cut, and when the bucket is full, underreamer is pulled out and clean. So the soil is being cut, it gets accumulated there in the bucket associated with underreamer. It is then pulled out, and then it is cleaned, and then this process is being repeated again. So the underreamer is lowered again, and the process is repeated. After the enlarged end is formed, the reinforcement cage is lowered and the concreting is done in this case. So you see here with the help of figure, if I explain you, so first this hole is prepared, that is called as borehole, that is boring guide. With the help of this you insert it the auger. See, we in the figure we can see what is the shape of the auger. Now what happens is with the auger you just put the rotary action, and then you take out the soil. So this is the process of preparing this borehole. Once this borehole is prepared, you insert the underreamer. It is of this shape, and then you apply the pressure from the point. What happens is blades get open up, and if you rotate it from this point, that is from the top point, the soil at the particular level will get cut, and it will get deposited in a bucket, which is with this particular assembly. Then you simply take this out, empty the bucket, put lower down the underreamer again with the pressure. Again the blades will get open, and the soil will again cut, and you can take out the soil. I mean, you can repeat this process again, and then you can simply lower down the reinforcement cage in this particular manner, and then the concreting can be done. So these are the various stages in the construction of single underrimmed pile. Now these underrimmed piles usually sizes in the order of 150 to 200 millimeters shaft diameter. Usual length of piles they are 3 to 4 meters length diameter. So if a pile is having a diameter of, let us say, 500 millimeter, then you can go for the size of the bulb for 2 to 3 times the 500 diameter of the pile shaft is of the order of pile shaft is the order of 150 to 200 millimeter. So let us say if it is 150 mm, then the diameter of the under rimmed portion can be 300 mm to 450 mm. These are considered useful in case of expansive soils where the use of shallow spread footing is ruled out due to excessive shrinkage and swelling behavior of such soils. That expansive soil is with the presence of water or the increase in the temperature. They frequently either shrink or get swells. So, in that case, the shallow footing does not serve the purpose. So, therefore, the deep foundation they are usually recommended for such type of soils, and in those type of soils, this underrimmed piles they are proven to be very useful. When the number of the bulbs is increased from 1 to 2, means in the underlying piles when the number of bulbs is increased from 1 to 2, the carrying capacity of the pile increases by about 50%. That is just a rough idea. It is not a hard and fast rule that it will get increased by 50%. It will all depend upon what is the type of the soil which is surrounding the pile, and then what is the bulb diameter or what exactly is the spacing. So all these things you have to design in case of underrimmed piles. Let us say some of the experiences that I had at one particular site when we have visited during my post graduation, where the pile driving and construction of the pile was going on. As I told you that in case of driven precast piles, what happens is your piles they are casted at the some particular workshops, and then they are being transported to the site, and with the help of driving rigs they are being installed in the ground. So while driving we can see in the figure it is a huge driving rig. You see when it just hampers one particular blow to the pile, how much noise that it will be creating, and if there is some sensitive structure nearby, then it can cause problem to that. But in case of barren lands, you can see that near there are no structures, only some trees and some land is there. So that is why at this particular site they could go for this driven piles, and then when we are dealing with the person who was taking care of the construction of piles, usually in the case of this driven piles they go for 550 diameter in India. So this becomes a limitation of driving. I mean, in a in case of driven piles, however, in case of board cast in situ piles, you can have the diameter of the pile as large as up to the extent of 1 or 1.5 meters. So you see, there is assembly. It is just a center at that particular point where you have to drive the pile, and just with hammering the pile is getting driven. You see, with the help of the cables, they are held vertical in position. Then in that was the case of driven piles. In case of bored piles, first you have to prepare the borehole, and then let us say the soil for that much depth of the pile. When you prepare the borehole, you have to make sure either some temporary or permanent measure to stabilize the walls of borehole. So what happens, either you insert a casing and then to the concreting and remains left. Method can be that casing you pour the concrete, then the concreting is over, you take out the casing. Out of these two, usually there is the third one which is being used in the construction procedure. You know, the bentonite soil. Pondage of bentonite slurry is being created, and with the help of one pipe, that bentonite slurry is being filled into the borehole which is prepared for the concreting. So what happens is this bentonite slurry gets in contact with the wall of the borehole, and then for the time being it strengthens the wall of the borehole. So you can see it is filled with the bentonite slurry. The circumference which is shown in the figure, then what is done is this, with the help of this pipe, this bentonite slurry is getting filled into this, and the slurry. That is, once the slurry is being has come from the wall of this borehole. Once again, it gets stiffened. The wall of the borehole gets stabilized. So what happens is this. Then you can take out the with the help of this water. You have to clean the hole, because if this bentonite slurry remains in the borehole, concreting will be in contact with this bentonite, not with the soil, which is really lying over here. That is not a desirable situation. So you see here a worker has put some weight with the cable. He is trying to measure that at particular depth the soil has been taken out. So let us say for 30 meter you should be some measure to ascertain